All right, so this is an interesting clip here. Senator Rand Paul went on CNBC, and he was asked why he hasn't officially endorsed Trump yet, and he gives an interesting answer. Let's watch.
Senator, there's NBC News' Sahil Kapoor reporting that he had a conversation with you last night, and he said that you're still not endorsing Trump, and you say your enthusiasm for Trump is flagging. Why is that?
You know, I'm supportive of Donald Trump. I think there's no question that Donald Trump is better than Kamala Harris on this. And, one is basically an argument for socialism. I think the idea of taxing unrealized gains is not only moronic, it's so destructive that it should be disqualified. She should be disqualified from any thoughtful person considering her the fact that they would consider taxing unrealized gains. Are we going to tax my house? How am I going to pay taxes since my house is worth twice as much as it used to be worth? Where am I going to come up with the money? I mean, that's just crazy.
You guys do know that policy that was floated to tax unrealized gains? You do know that's only for over $100 million, right? Look, I got to be honest with you guys. I am astonished at just how much being a right-winger these days means you make shit up and don't know anything about what you're talking about. It's astonishing. It's astonishing. The policy is over $100 million taxing unrealized gains. They're acting like it applies to somebody who makes $32,000 a year. It wouldn't apply to Rand Paul's house. You're not worth over $100 million. This is absurd. This is absurd. Guys, this is the same thing. You've seen this where they literally don't know what a marginal tax rate is. They literally don't know. You saw this when Bernie ran in 2016 and in 2020. You would have right-wingers be like, oh my God, Bernie wants to take 90% of your money. First of all, that wasn't actually even the marginal tax rate number. I think it was less than that. I think it was like 70 or something like that. Second of all, the way a marginal tax rate work is not the way that they think it does. I don't think they know or care, to be honest. The way it works is every dollar made over a certain line would be taxed at the higher rate. So in other words, every dollar over 20 million, we will tax at 70%. So it's not the whole 20 million that's taxed at 70%. It's if you make 21 million, 1 million of the 20 million is taxed at 70%. And that's also pre-loopholes and deductions. And every developed country has a progressive tax system and marginal tax rates. We already have marginal tax rates. It's just where do you draw the line and what should the number be? When we had the golden age of economic expansion in this country, the top marginal rate was 91%. And the line was a lot. It was like maybe 1 million or 2 million a year, something like that, maybe 5 million is where that 91% kicked in. Again, pre-deduction, so it was a little less than that. But this is the way it works. These people don't even know how marginal tax rate works. If you hear a conservative say, this Democrat is coming to take 70% of your money or 90% of your money, or even when they say 50% of your money, that's a lie. That is not how the tax system works. And I don't know if they know it or not because they're just fucking idiots. Many of them are liars, but they're also fucking idiots. And look, I don't know. I don't know if Rand Paul knows it's for over $100 million. He might not, because I saw so much misinformation where right-wingers were melting down over this tax on unrealized gains. I don't know if they even knew it was for over $100 million. And then also he called Kamala socialist. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. You guys are comical. You don't know the most basic things about politics. Anyway, let's continue because we didn't get to the fun part yet. He didn't endorse Trump. Why?
But as far as my enthusiasm, I'm a deficit hawk. The Trump administration added $8 trillion. The Biden administration is going to add $8 trillion. This year, we're going to add another $2 trillion. As Trump left office, he was advocating for $2,500 checks again, passed out to everybody. I'm not for that. I was against.
One of the few good things Trump did, the stimulus checks during COVID. He's like, bro, can you believe they gave checks to people who were in desperate need of it, bro? Disgusting, bro.
The lockdowns, and I want to hear stronger language in that sense. I also want to get to the bottom of the funding of the research in Wuhan. The NIH is still resisting giving me that information. My investigation hangs in the lurch, and I want to promise, frankly, from Donald Trump that he will continue, allow me to do that investigation, and that he will sign legislation that I've written that will regulate gain-of-function research such that we are not having government money used to, take Ebola, which has a 50% mortality, and see if we can aerosolize it. Crazy research like that shouldn't be done or paid for by the taxpayer.
Yeah, I'm with him on the gain-of-function research thing. I think that's reasonable. But the deficit hawk thing is hilarious. Again, these people just don't know how the national debt works. And they don't know how the annual deficit works. And they don't know what the difference is. And they don't know what the difference is between that and the trade deficit. And they think, big number, scary and bad. Well, the national debt is not like a fucking household budget. And people, again, at this late date, there's this misconception that's a majority of people have. They think it works like a household budget. And it doesn't. We have our own sovereign currency. It's very, very different. There are times where it is proper to run an annual deficit, which means it's proper to make the national debt grow at times. Really, the debt to GDP ratio is the bigger indicator. Anyway, we don't need to get into the wonky economic angle of it. But he's not endorsing Trump, and the reasons he gives are mostly kind of silly, if we're being honest. But on the one hand, I want to say, look, libertarians, they do have a streak of being more principled than other people on the right. I think that's fair to say, right? Very famously, the lobbyists would never go into Bernie Sanders' office and never go into Ron Paul's office. They knew those two are off limits. They're never going to work with us, right? So Ron Paul means it. I'm talking specifically about Ron, not his dad, not his son. Rand Paul is not as hardcore libertarian as Ron. He's libertarian-ish, right? He's not as hardcore libertarian. So Ron was more principled. Bernie's, like, there is some crossover between, you know, progressive social democrats or socialists and libertarians. Usually they agree on foreign policy stuff. Usually they agree on a lot of social policy stuff like drugs and civil liberties and the Constitution, right? So on the one hand, I want to give him credit and say, look, libertarians are more principled and he's holding out. He's not endorsing Trump. But on the other hand, can we just call a spade here? Number one, he's definitely going to vote for Trump. Number two, he's definitely eventually going to endorse Trump, even if Trump doesn't meet the conditions that he says he needs to meet. We all know it. We all know it. So he's going to fall in line. But at least right now, he's saying, no, you know, here are these issues I'm concerned about. I love how he's like, can you believe that he cut stimulus checks to people who are in desperate need of it during a pandemic? Disgusting, bro. So one of the few good things Trump did, he's like, that was gross. And the deficit hog bullshit. But anyway, he might be the only Republican, though, right now that's elected in the Senate who's still like, I don't know about this. I don't think it will last long, but nonetheless, there you go. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.